most verbs in English don't change their form very much when you change tenses. For instance, take the word to play. I play, I will play, I was playing, I played. That play stays pretty much the same. English does have a number of irregular verbs that you've already memorized because you grew up speaking English properly and hearing it properly. For instance, to go. It is goes, went, gone. Totally changes its form when it changes its tense. And the to be verb, which we've learned already in Latin, as well as an irregular verb, it has helping verbs in front of it, or is, was, were, been, changes significantly. And then, for instance, to begin, began, begun. Latin has irregular verbs as well. The most common irregular verb in Latin is to be, the sum esse fui futurum. We learned it really early on in English. You've already filled it out in the to be chart in your chart book. So let's add some more. If you pull out your chart books and turn to the irregular verb section, we're going to look at eo, ire, iwi, itum. Now you can see that this third principal part has two options. You'll see it both ways, with two I's and then with the V, just to have it in mind. I'm going to give it to you as if we'll use this so the stem will actually be an I. So go ahead and get out your chart books, and I want you to take some time to fill these in. If you notice, in the present tense is the one that it's kind of weird and unusual. It does still have the os, it, mus, tis, nt. What's odd is the beginning. Most of them have the stem, and the stem is an I, because remember we take off the RE, so that's a little unusual too. I-O is hard to say. I-O is much easier, which is why I think they used an E, and then the last one, the U before the E. All the rest are the normal I. Imperfect tense, still got the stem, remember, ire, take off the RE, and normal. I love imperfect because it's normal just about everywhere. Bombas, bot, bomus, batis, bant. Future tense. Actually, let's do future tense again. Bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt. None of that changes. The one that's really kind of funky you're going to have to pay attention to is present tense. And then perfect, remember we have the two forms, either one. So the stem again is an I or an IV, and we've got set normal endings. E, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt, except you notice there we only have one I in the istis and one I in the isti. It's not e isti. So, and that's because imperfect forms that start with I's are condensed to is. So isti, which we start out, actually becomes just the istis, and istis would become istis. Do you see that? So with the E sound at the beginning. All right, pause until you've got those all down. Let's talk about the next one as well. So the next one we're going to take a look at is Ferro Ferri Tuli Latum. What makes this one a little weird is when you take off the RE for the stem, it doesn't have a vowel at the end like most stems do, but the endings are exactly the same as third conjugation verbs. So go ahead and you're going to fill these out. O-S-T, imus, imus, and then unt with the U-N-T after it. So the only thing is it just looks a little weird to go around saying first, firtus, ferunt. So, and then imperfect, totally normal, goes to a strong E in imperfect. Future, es, et, emus, etis, etis, ent. And then, pay attention, very odd, doesn't look like any of the other principal parts. Third principal part becomes tuli. So when you learn this, you need to learn it as Ferro Ferri Tuli Latum. So tuli, this one throws a lot of students because they're like, I have no idea what this word means. And yes, you do. So perfect is totally normal as well in that one. So take a moment to fill that out. Okay, Latin often forms compound verbs by adding prepositions or adjectives as prefixes to verbs. And English uses Latin prepositions to form compound verbs too. So interestingly enough, the following English verbs come from Latin prepositions attached to derivatives of Latin verbs. So of course we've got contra, which means against, and we take that with part of a Latin verb dict. Remember from dicuo, dicere, dixi, dictum. Remember, fourth principal part, dictum, the fourth principal part of verb is often what we get our derivatives from. So, and it comes contradict. So contra, against, and dict, to speak, becomes contradict, which is you speak against someone. And then we've got trans, which means across, which is preposition, right? And port, from porto, portare, portavi, portatum, to carry, transport. And what are you doing when you're transporting something? You're carrying it across. It could be land, it could be sea, it could be across the room. And then here's one that I love, comes directly from a verb, ex, which means out of is the preposition, and it, which we learned way up here. See, third present tense, he, she, it goes, right? And so you put the two of those together and you get exit. Now, English language will also combine two words to form compound words, like two nouns together, like key and board. And when you do that, key has a separate meaning than board, but when we put them together, they express a new idea. So key plus board becomes keyboard, right? Which is very different than a key and very different than a board. Grasshopper becomes grasshopper. Okay. You can also combine an adjective and a noun to make a compound noun. So we've got green, which is an adjective, and house, which is a noun, and it becomes greenhouse. And you can also combine an adjective, another adjective, and a noun to make a verb. We did it as a noun here, so this is a noun. These are all nouns up here. Now we've got a verb. And very often you'll probably see it like this. Clear cut is how you see it. It's a hyphenated verb. So we take an adjective clear and the verb cut, and we get clear cut. And to clear cut something, of course, what you means is to cut it completely gone, right? Clearly. So we have an irregular verb that can do the same thing. Now, the most compound common verb in language, Latin, is possum, possi, potui. And it combines the verb sum, esse, remember, the to be verb, with the adjective potens, which means to be able. And what you get is then you get a verb, to be able or can. And I want you to take a look, and this is also in your chart book, so take some time to fill it out. And if you look, this is the irregular part of it. We've got sum, est, sumus, estis, sunt, but if you look at the beginning, the POS, so we've taken off, there's no RE to take off here, right? There's no RE, so just the front of it is just weird. So we change pot, potest, possumus, potestus, possunt. The imperfect, the stem on this one is just POT. And remember, it doesn't have, it takes the sum esse, because remember, this poesse, so verb esse, that is what is going to conjugate in all of these, is the esse part. So take a look, aram, aras, arat, aramos, aratus, erant, with a POT on the front of it. And future, we've got the O instead of the bow marker. We've got we've got a row instead of bow, and that is the future form of the to be verb. Aro, eris, erit, erimis, eritus, erunt. And then the perfect form right here. The perfect form will form normally because we use the third principal part. Okay, so we take off the I, and you have potu as the stem, and then what we have is the E, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. So take some time to fill those out, And so that you've got them. Again, the weird ones are mostly present tense and a little bit in imperfect, only because the stem is P-O-T. The rest of the verb is just the imperfect form of the to be verb, the present tense of the present tense of the to be verb, the imperfect form of the to be verb, the future tense of the to be verb, and then perfect is just formed completely normally. But you will want to write these down, because when you're seeing these, you're trying to form them. It'll be much easier than having to look them up in your glossary or look them up online.